tens of thousands of viewers.
Of course, that's private. So, hello, good morning, Jack. We are back
Morning.
again.
Good evening. Good to see you again.
Good evening, Europe. Exactly. How are
Always
you
a delight.
doing?
I'm doing well. Doing
Yeah.
well. Just keeping busy, doing lots of personal sessions and lots of one-day workshops in-house for the trainers, and it's an adventure. It's an inner adventure, and that's what I love about this work.
This
That
is
as I help others heal, I learn new things and I heal and I keep progressing after 51 years. Helps me stay young. So,
that's actually interesting and good that you mentioned that. Your one sessions. I always wanted to ask you, what is it like? What is it? What does it make special or unique having a one with you? What is the difference in attending a workshop and a private session with you?
well, in a workshop, you can see that you're not the only one with this kind of problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that by witnessing another person's healing, you can, work along with them and heal yourself. So it's a generalized, you get a lot of support in a workshop. Personal, you get, really focused personal attention. And we can go really deep into dynamics for, what's holding you back specifically and what are the issues, and to just clear this layer after layer so that people become more of their true selves, more expanded, more happy. So I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, that sounds nice. And it's
You know,
bringing us to, sorry.
yeah. In a Course in Miracles, it talks about, the best place that we can arrive at is living a happy dream in this life. Because really, at the deepest level, it's all a dream. Some of the new quantum physicists say this. It's all light until we put our dream on it. And Buddha said the same thing 2,500 years ago. And so the message of a happy dream is that we let it be heaven's will instead of our will. What I found is the ego is just a little saboteur, and it wants its own way, and it wants to fill its needs, and it siphons off our bank account, and we become a slave to it, and people don't realize it. We become reactive. We want to be the best one and superior, and we make other people the losers. We make other people the inferior ones. We make other people wrong because we have to be right. And so basically, our ego makes us its slave. And we don't realize that we've lost our happiness to building up this big bulwark, this armor, these walls of separation, where joy is connection and fun and laughter and flow. I mean, it has to do with connection. And so we don't realize we've disconnected from ourselves. We don't realize that in doing that, we disconnected from others and from heaven. And there's these patterns, these stories we write. We don't even realize that we're writing stories. And some are really happy stories, and that's great. But some
Yes.
are dark stories and very painful stories. And we're writing them chapter after chapter. And sometimes we write a holding on story where we holding on to a past event. And so it determines what we think is going to happen to us. And it covers up the present, which is a place of contact and joy and peace. But then we're just living out a past script, and it's below the level of our conscious mind. So it's bringing these up and go, oops, my bad. I don't want that. What I want is a happy story. I want a love story, because basically our life is showing us what's in our mind, and we can change our mind. That gives us our power back, and we can change the history. Because if it's painful, it was a mistake that was made. And I say this from 51 years of experience in healing. and just helping people get out of places where they felt victimized. A lot of times, it happens in the first 3 years. And that's such a strong determiner. So we want to change these things. We want to get our life back. What I have found is that sometimes when a negative incident happens, we don't realize the collusion of our subconscious mind, which is our ego, wanting to create a wound. So we separate. And unless we heal that, unless we feel all the feelings and so it burns away, then it sets up a pattern. And so we can have heartbreak patterns that began when we were children. And then, our adult heartbreaks come from our childhood heartbreaks. And the thing I found, was such an eye opener for me, is that when there's pain, a mistake is being made, which means that there's a way of looking at things. There's a way of dealing with things that heals, that brings balm, brings that healing ointment. The Bible is called the balm of Gilead, that can just heal. And then underneath what was most traumatic, there's a big gift where people can just shine. But what happens in a victim situation is we seem out of control, but there's a part of us that goes into control. And we close doors in our lives. We close doors on relationships. We close doors on love. We close doors on abundance. We close doors on sex. We close doors on happiness. And we withdraw. And every time you withdraw, you're in sacrifice. And then you do things, you give, but you don't receive. And withdrawal is one of the forms of anger. It's a little known fact that when we withdraw from people, and every time we got hurt, we withdrew. And we're now in a pattern of withdrawal. So we're in a pattern that will lead to greater sacrifice, and it will lead to greater pain. And then that's not all. We throw parts of us away. So we throw, maybe in your first relationship, you had certain gifts, but after the heartbreak, you threw away those gifts. You're no longer painting. You're no longer writing poetry. You're no longer, the dance queen. And so it's winning our life back, winning our joy back, winning our exuberance back. For instance, if I ask you, Betty, what percentage of your exuberance have you thrown away?
20.
20%. Imagine you had another 20% exuberance. How much more energy would you have at the end of the day instead of crawling into bed?
80.
80% more energy. And that's just that, as the Japanese say, "Yatta!" It's just being that alive. We don't realize that we're in charge of those controls. How much of your sexuality have you thrown away, if you were to know?
80.
Yeah, you want to get that back because it's a symbol of your life energy. I mean, the big thing about sex is that it symbolizes your life and your relationships. And I'm sure there's thousands of guys out there who'd want to help you get that back. So and it's like we don't realize that we can recover ourselves. A Course in Miracles says that when we recover a part of ourselves that we lost, that's a resurrection. And so this ability to get our life back, our mind back, our heart back, our experience of oneness and love and heaven back, because that's inside us, really deeply buried, and a healing path naturally takes you toward that. And you heal some deep and dark places that were also misunderstandings. But there's always a way through, because that's heaven's will for us. So it's just learning. It's learning and healing, and that helps us stay young. Do you want to play a little bit?
Always with you.
So how old were you when you made a decision that's now draining your life from you, making you older? It's like causing you to age. How old were you if you were to know that?
3.
Yeah, see, it's 3 years old. Do you remember 3 years old?
Not really.
And who was there with you if you were to know?
Both my dad and my mom.
And somehow, if you were to know what was going on, it was probably
my mom was unhappy.
Mm-hmm. And if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So let's imagine that. What did you decide as a result of that?
On the first place, my mom is unhappy. I have to be unhappy.
So it's a question of untrue loyalty. It's amazing how many of us make this decision and follow in our parents' footsteps. But do you want to be really loyal to your mother?
Yes.
You would have brought in a gift that's the antidote to her unhappiness. This is what our soul does in a true way to prepare us for these situations. Now, at that time, we go, okay, but I love mom. I'm going with mom. But if you really love mom, you wouldn't jump in the pit with her. You would open up this gift. What beautiful, brilliant gift did you bring in?
Innocence.
Innocence. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If there's innocence, there's no problem. And is that one of the gifts that you brought in for all women?
Yeah.
And for all people?
Yes.
So at 3, would you open up this gift of innocence and ask heaven to supersize it, to multiply it?
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
And share that with your mama.
Yeah.
that's your gift of love.
Mm-hmm.
And how does that feel?
It's blending away everything. It's like I don't know how to, not an emptiness, but it's taking away everything. It's pureness.
And how about sharing it with your father? It's not your fault, Dad. It's okay. Here, have some innocence.
It's breaking in laughter.
Anybody else around? Your brother?
I can't see him, but he's somewhere. So
okay, send it off to him. Now, 3 is such a significant time. It's the biggest age. You can imagine working with over hundreds of thousands of people. It's like that's the biggest age of trauma in our present generation. And it's an area where we're meant to actually embrace our purpose, embrace our victory, our success, our confidence, and we get so wounded there that that's our 3rd chakra, just above the navel. And the only one that's more damaged than that is the self-love chakra, which is in our genitals. And that's really wounded because that's the biggest problem in the world, is the lack of self-love. And all the reasons we have for deciding that we don't deserve to be loved, that's a mistake. It's incorrect. What did you decide about yourself at 3 as a result of that problem?
That I'm worthless.
Right. So this becomes a belief. Now you can compensate for that by doing things, working hard, being good, all those things we do to compensate, but you don't feel any more worthy.
Yeah.
So, but there's a way that you can easily integrate that belief in unworthiness and the compensation and just melt it into peace. How many beliefs in unworthiness did you pick up?
30.
But how do you feel now?
Way better.
What did you decide about women?
Being a woman is worthless. Yeah.
So
Or it
that
has not the value. It has not the value.
yeah, that compounds the whole thing. But what if, see, what I found is where you have a major trauma, the person typically has the opposite gift. So did you bring in a gift of worth, self-worth for women, also besides innocence? And can you share that with your mom also? And see, this naturally bonds us with our mother at a whole new level. And I'm sure the whole family could use it.
Yes.
Some worth. Yeah. Because that allows you to receive. It allows you to have a happy life. What did you decide about relationship? See, these decisions become our beliefs. And then our beliefs are how we perceive the world. And how we perceive the world is basically what we're inviting to us. And we can invite, as A Course in Miracles says, either fear or we can invite witnesses of love. Now, what if you're the one called to bring in the witnesses of love? That's part of your purpose. You're worthy, you're worth it, and love and innocence.
That sounds nice. Yeah. I will.
What did you decide about relationships?
They are worthless as well.
So who wants one?
Yeah.
It's just more work.
Yeah. More
How many
unhappiness.
beliefs? Yeah. How many beliefs do you have that relationships are worthless?
1,000. Oh.
1,000. And this is your ego. This is just classic stuff. And this stuff is making you old, and you should have the archetype of le jeune fille, the young woman who just brings, the young girl who brings such joy to people. I mean, you've seen that yourself. You've seen a young girl so full of life, it just touches everybody. And you can have that archetype even up into your 70s, 80s, 90s, because it's an archetype. It's a positive pattern of the mind. So now, could you imagine the angels? Because you have a connection with angels. They lift this block of beliefs, these 1,000 blocks, and they just lift it up and fly it over to the altar of God. Did God create unworthiness?
No.
Does it exist?
No.
No, it's that sneaky little ego. So we put those 1,000 beliefs, those 1,000 blocks on the altar of God, and they because they're not true. And there are little things like this that can be so helpful. Now, how far off the track did you get at 3 because of this?
3,000.
So you've been a train wreck since 3. So, but there is a place where there's a hidden decision here, which is I would rather hide than have to shine so much and have people expect so much of me. After all, I'm only 3. But you're also this great spiritual being who's backed up by heaven. So you can get rid of these things and make the choice to bring value to relationships. And you can ask the angels 3,000 steps off the track. You can ask them to put you back on the golden track, which is heaven's track, which is the happy dream.
It's enlightening.
Yeah. And you find out that this kind of change at times has direct effect on the people around you. So that this level of energy is being given to your mom and to yourself as a woman and to your father and to your relationships. And so back there, when your mom was unhappy, what parts of you did you throw away? What physical parts, first of all?
My vagina.
Man, I hate it when that happens. What's a girl to do, just so do you want to get the angels to go get your vagina and bring it back to you? Yeah.
Yes.
And then you can little sign, the tunnel of love is now open for business, just any other parts of you threw away?
My knees.
My knees. So it's like throw away your needs and you throw
Knees.
Yeah, and you pretend you're not needy.
No, my knees. The knees.
Right.
Okay, I get it. Okay.
See, the mind works in puns. Our dreams works in puns. And if you follow illnesses, they work in puns and parts of the body also.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like, do you see? It's like it locks in your needs, and knees also represent charisma, leadership. Are you weak kneed? Which is a statement mean, you're afraid to decide, to choose, to commit. So knees are about commitment and parts of the body, are meant to distract us from the real issue in our mind. And sometimes these go really deep past the subconscious into the unconscious, into ancestral patterns that are passed down into they're just coming up now with biological research that shows things that I've been talking about since the 70s, which is how things are passed down ancestrally. And then it's like our parents, our grandparents, they went through world wars, and this sets up like scar tissues, and that can be changed. About almost over 20 years ago, I found out where we had all made a promise that we would free our ancestors from their karmic chains. And even back in 1974, I found a way to do that. And I found since that time 3 other models that do that. And then there's past lives, whether you believe in past lives or they're just dreams, like the stories we have in dreams that are showing us what we're dealing with. Well, past lives could be that, but it's a neat model to completely shift an unconscious pattern. And it can sure make a difference in people's lives. And many people have experiences like that. I remember working in 1976 with a Marine staff sergeant. I don't believe in past lives. Well, let's just play. Oh, you had this past life in China where this happened to you, and let's change that. Because you can change that like you can change a dream, and you can change these patterns, and you can take responsibility for yourself. So ask the angels to put you back on that golden track. And all of these gifts that are part of your purpose, innocence, self-worth, and these are all aspects of self-love. And the world is in dire need of self-love. There would be no problems if there was self-love. There would be no self-attack and no attack on others. And with innocence, there's no attack on others or yourself. And these are major gifts. And so now let's imagine there was a dial inside you that allowed for how much life you have to express. How far down did you turn that dial?
Oh, to zero.
Yikes. So let's imagine you and the angels take that dial and turn it up so that life energy can flow through you, and that peace that allows for life energy, that peace comes to you and it radiates out from you, just healing people all around you. So how does that feel? That's just one thing. So it's like this will allow you, barring any other conflicts inside, to stay younger much longer, which is what it's all about. Taoism teaches all about how to be immortal. But healing allows you to get through the fatal flaws within you. I just got inspired to start a book. It'll probably take me 3 or 4 years because there's other books going on, but it's healing your fatal flaw. And imagine the thing that where the ego's trying to shunt you toward death. I mean, in A Course in Miracles, it says that's one of the reasons it shows the ego is insane, because it's trying to kill you. Heilige Scheiße. Come on, I built you up with my blood, sweat, and tears, and now you're trying to get rid of me? It thinks it will survive our death.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember cartoons from when you were a kid, and there's this animal on a branch with a saw, and he's sawing off the branch, but he's on the outside?
Yeah.
That's the ego. Yeah. It's insane. But it has a very logical belief system, but so do insane people.
And somehow we all are kind of insane.
Yeah, and we want to get our sanity. We want to see, what I've found is that you can be the best that humanity has to offer, with beauty and love and friendship and generosity, and vision and purpose. And then you graduate from the best that humanity has to offer into your divinity, which is basically how you were created. Like comes from like. So God created us as love. He created us as wise. But we've covered it over. We've covered over that eternal part of us, that spirit part of us, that limitless part of us. And all healing is to regain ourselves, is to welcome back our life. But this can go not just because of what happened in the pandemic, being placed in this pressure cooker, and good things came out of it, and some of us got overcooked. Some people are still dieting as a result of the pandemic. So it's like, let's get our lives back. And because then it becomes more fun. It doesn't become just the same old thing. There's life, there's joy, and there's fun. And we get on a true path. The healing path is a path of truth. And there's many healing paths, but it's like, just find the one you're called to. And because you'll get your purpose back. And the extent you have your purpose back, you will have fulfillment in your life. So there's a direct correlation. The extent people are living their purpose and the extent they feel fulfilled.
That's true, yeah.
And truth is inclusive. If there's somebody you're not including in your life because they're so rotten, they hurt me, they did all this stuff, what happens when you disinclude somebody, you disinclude a part of yourself. And there becomes a dark spot in your mind. And if you were to know, Bettina, just imagine the person I'm not going to ask
Mm-hmm.
you, that you disinclude the most,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
the bugger. And so, where's the dark spot you put in your body as a metaphor for your mind?
My belly button, is it called like that?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
this later might show up as stomach problems. When I work with people with catastrophic illness and things like this, it traces back to these kinds of things. You can't have a problem without a grievance. So if you can get back to that original grievance and see it was all a mistake, then it can all change. So how about we, invite the angels to bring the light there?
Yeah.
Because, it's like turning on a light,
Yeah.
there it goes. And you become more innocent.
Mhm.
Now, can you see some more innocence in that person?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Pew.
Yeah. And can you invite them to be included in your circle?
Yeah.
The buggers. Everybody needs some buggers, because at an unconscious level, everybody in our world represents our past experiences, our past self-concepts, and even pulling out of the ancient past, ancestrally or past life. All we deal with is ourselves. So it's learning to love ourselves, and there won't be anybody you won't love.
Mhm.
So
Thank
anything,
you very much, Chuck. So there are no questions left, actually.
huh?
No, because yeah, we are starting next week actually for the healing week, the virtual healing week. Welcome back your life. So this is kind of exercises, I guess, you are going to make
Well,
for our healing path.
so many exercises, and we just follow. See, in the 70s, I did group therapy, hundreds and hundreds of group therapies over years, and
Mhm.
so I learned to follow process, how things unfold. So the workshops that I do, there's some things I see being presented to because
Yeah.
of the name of the workshop or what shows up ahead of time, because it shows what's about to unfold. So if I follow that, it never gets boring. And I have, just so many different exercises for so many different situations.
Mhm.
And, this is a transpersonal psychology, which just realizes that it's all about love. It's all about, evolution, personal evolution back to our original state of, God's perfect child. And, some of us have some work to do. You know, I,
Just
I
some.
certainly did, but my life is so much better.
Yeah,
So,
this is true. It's becoming better and better. I have attended the healing week last year actually, and have discovered, or you have discovered for me, so many things from my back issues from my first relationship. And it was bombastic, really, such a change that happened afterwards. And this is really, yeah, stunning what this work is able to do. So thank you very much.
are you willing to have yourself love at 100%?
Yes.
Do you realize what an inspiration you would be for the whole world?
Yeah.
And innocent. How many innocent people do you know? I mean, just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just knowing guilty people.
But I can tell you this with authority. And I've written
Yeah.
books on guilt, and I was the guiltiest little boy there that I could imagine. By 7, I knew I was going to hell. So it was just all this terrible mistake. Guilt
Yeah,
is not true. And it
exactly.
leads into this belief that the ego uses about sin, which it says you deserve death.
Mhm.
And it's not true. It's like measure things against happiness, measure things against truth. If it's not happy, it won't be true. and you can ask for the truth.
Mhm.
Or ask that God's will be done, because he just wants us to have this golden life.
Yeah.
So, ready for a golden life, Betty?
Yay!
Yay.
Thank you so much. That was
You're so
really
welcome. Yeah.
surprising and really lovely. Thank you, and see you next week, next Friday, actually.
Next week, yeah, it's like, it's set up time wise for people in German speaking countries, but every once in a while we have somebody from Asia who joins the workshop, and it just makes it more exciting, more interesting, more
Yeah.
exotic.
Absolutely, exactly, more international. So really, blending in the cultures. This is really, really nice, and very, adding more spark to it. So thank you. Kisses to Hawaii.
I will pass it out.
And see you next week. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, Betty.
Bye-bye.